Well, you know, it's great to be here with you and seeing you. And the reason we're here tonight is because tomorrow we get to play together for the first time since January, I think.
Yeah.
And that was with the Bandit 65 crew in Philadelphia at the, where did we play?
At the Ruba Club.
Oh, the Ruba Club, yeah. That was such a great concert. And
hopefully that will come out.
Yeah. There is talk about that, right?
Yes.
in the inner sanctum, we have been definitely hearing about that. So yeah, that's something to take note of. A live recording from the Ruba Club of Bandit 65 with Kurt Rosenwinkel and Gintas Janusonis and myself. The reason we're here tonight, though, is to just chat and take questions and stuff. But tomorrow we're playing this concert, as I was alluding to, and it's happening at ShapeshifterLab in Brooklyn. That is run by Matthew Garrison and Fortuna Sung. And
that's ShapeshifterLab.com.
ShapeshifterLab.com. And it's put on by ShapeshifterLab as well as MoonJune, which is our friend Leonardo, the amazing Leonardo. And I want to tell you who's in this band. If you haven't seen our feverish posting, which has been happening on Facebook and Twitter and stuff, but we're trying to let everybody know that Gintas and I are playing along with our super friends, Vernon Reid, the legend Vernon Reid on guitar, Josh Werner, and Leon Gruenbaum. And so we want you to come and check out this cosmic music tomorrow. It starts at 5 o'clock. It's going to be a live stream, and you can go to ShapeshifterLab.com and get your tickets. And the way Leonardo has set this up, the tickets are $12, and you'll see what we're imagining will be 2 sets. I'm sure we'll play at least several hours.
I think so, at least.
Because we're going to want to play so badly.
We're going to make it count, man.
But we'll be masked, and we'll be being safe in there.
You'll recognize us by our hair or lack thereof.
And the other bonus about this concert tomorrow is if you want to donate $20 to the proceeds, you'll get an MP3 recording of the gig. You'll get that up until like 7 days after the concert. So that's another little caveat that's available. But we're inviting you to see this dynamic band of 5 amazing players. Now we've both played with Vernon once before. That was a few years ago.
Which was an epic experience.
Yeah, can you remember that, or tell me what happened in that?
Because you don't remember? I don't know if I remember.
I just remember all the pedals. There were maybe 300 pedals.
Between all of us, including, did Sufla have pedals or just the wave drum?
Sufla, I don't think she had pedals. Yeah.
She just had it was either a hand sonic or a wave drum.
Yeah, it was a wave drum. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was intense and exploratory.
Yes. And it's coming back to me a little bit now. It was very deep, very avant-garde, as I recall.
Yeah, we took it out.
And
absolutely.
There were a couple pieces that we did, and I can't remember how you described, because we were listening to the recordings recently. Something like Miles Davis meets.
Oh yeah, it was Dark. What was it? Was it
Dark Magus?
Like Dark Magus meets something. I can't remember what the other reference point was.
Something electronic, as I recall, and yeah, it was just some amazing.
I think it was Dark Magus meets Portishead.
Oh, could be that. But there
was,
as I recall from the recording, there were just like fragments of possibilities happening, and then we would change channels, and we'd be flying over some other landscape, and then things would dissolve, and we'd be to yet another idea. constantly exploring and really exploring sound. You know, that's what I would call sound and rhythms, rhythm science. And I would expect tomorrow night is going to happen that way as well.
I definitely think so, especially with this lineup. I mean, I just remember, you know, I mean, it was the fact that that was the first time that all four of us had played together as a configuration with Vernon, Ursula, you, and myself.
Yeah.
And, you know, I mean, obviously everybody is a world-class, you know, player in their own right, and everybody knows how to improvise. But, you know, in these situations, it's all about the chemistry and you know, kind of searching together and feeling each other out. Like, you know, sometimes seeing like who's going to take the lead at a given point, or who's going to, you know, take us down another tributary.
Yeah, I mean, I think there was so much listening going on, and that's a key to this kind of playing. I think just the listening and feeling where it's going, and we're all working. I mean, we've really learned so much playing in Bandit 65, you know, because we would have to do that every night, of course, go out on these concert stages. And I still remember in Hamburg, Kurt saying, "Oh my God, we don't have any songs." And we're walking in a sold out house, and who knows what happened in that 2 hours or whatever it was. And
because we never seem to know while it's happening. We only figure it out after we listen back after the fact.
Yes, but you know, the listening aspect of it is crucial, and the flow aspect of that, and the intention, and you know, it's I think just some kind of focused mindset that happens. It's not so much about thinking, but turning off the mind and allowing things to happen and listening for
Absolutely.
clues. I was always listening to clues from you and Kurt, and or whatever improvising band I'm in there.
I think we all were, you know.
Exactly, we're sorting and shifting fragments of ideas that start to coalesce and become something. Yeah.
And that's the thing. I think the success, or the key to success in that kind of situation or environment is, it doesn't have to do with the individual player's ability. It's just like everybody having a collective mindset of how to approach it, and of you know, I think that's something that we really have gotten together incredibly well with Kurt in Bandit 65, is especially the longer we've played, where we all know how to tune in. There it is. We all, you know, learn how to tune in and listen collectively, and you know, not to sound cliche about it, but you know, learning how to go with the flow together.
Yeah. Yeah, and we had so many amazing concerts, and you know, in my mind's eye, not all of them were successful. You know.
No, I mean, and I don't think they all can be on the same level.
Yeah. So it was really, you know, roller coaster ride, and there were so many, you know, issues with travel and stuff like this, and how much sleep or not had we had, and how much food or not had we had, and you know, the crazy times, and getting to the venue and having to deal with whatever.
And sound checks.
Right.
My epically long setup time.
Yeah, I remember when we played Berlin, it was which was an unbelievable gig. It was the second show that we ever played in 2016. What was the festival? X-Jazz.
Oh, X-Jazz.
And it was the most incredible concert that, and you know, it was like we'd only played really 2 gigs, like one in Philly and one in, where was the gig before that? Belgrade?
No.
Can't remember.
Was oh no in Budapest.
Oh, Budapest, yeah.
Yeah, Budapest.
First official tour date in Budapest, and our second night was at X-Jazz in Berlin. And Gintas has the most complex drum setup. It's not only his full drum kit, but also percussion and percussion toys, and then a whole effects rig as well. And then very specific miking as well. So there were so many layers to that. Do you want to talk about what you're doing?
Well, I mean...
And will you be doing that tomorrow night?
I will.
Oh.
I will. I mean, I figure because the context is similar, where we're improvising and, getting really exploratory and this is definitely the right group to do it with, considering who's in it.
Yeah.
With the situation of the world being what it is, and the fact that gigs are so few and far between, my attitude was like, well, let's make it count. let's bring out all the goodies. Yeah.
That's what I'm doing too. Actually, figuring out what gear to bring, and is it going to be this fuzz pedal or the other fuzz pedal, or both fuzz pedals,
Right. Well, I was trying to decide whether I was going to, tamper down the setup at all. And I still might. I'm actually going to go to the studio tonight. I set up all my electronics. I hadn't had them set up in my space for a while before the last couple of days.
All right.
So there might be one or two things that either stay or go, but I'll probably end up bringing everything just because, I've got a really specific signal chain and I know how to set it up. It's weird. It's like probably one of the only setups where like you take something away and it can complicate the setup because I have it down to such a formula.
I can't imagine what's going to be in the room tomorrow. Now, I know that Leon, who created his own controller, years ago, right? And it's called the Chilean Tip Cheapy.
Yeah. Otherwise known in the more abbreviated form as the Sam Chilean.
Sam Chilean. And what can you tell us about that?
That's a really incredible instrument. It's basically a microtonal MIDI controller.
Microtonal MIDI controller.
Yeah, that thing can go microtonal. It's not just diatonic and not, just 12 tone. And it's a very unique and brilliant kind of control system where the interface is a customized ergonomic computer keyboard.
Wow.
And you have a set of keys on one hand that are just basically sequential steps. And then your other hand can control what type of scale it is, the series of notes. And it's also, if I'm getting this right, because I'm always fascinated by it, but I'm never sure I'm completely clear on how it works, where the sequential keys that run the series of notes can be changed in terms of intervallic relationship, depending on what order they're being played in. And Leon it's his instrument, but he's just a virtuoso on it. He can play the most incredible things. Do you know what kinds of things he's triggering? Well, he's got a setup. He used to, before the days of Ableton and such, because this instrument's been around a long time, he was using hardware, hardware samplers and tone generators. And he would get the microtonal aspect by, I think, programming pitch bends. So that's how he was able, to make that happen. But now this system is streamlined and simplified, where all of his sounds are coming out of Ableton, an Ableton setup. Excuse me.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and he's it just gives him more flexibility with, obviously, with effects, and he also has a randomizer function that he programmed into the in his controller, where he can scroll through, and Ableton will just randomly pull up different patches, which can be really, it's going to be really amazing. I mean, it definitely adds to the spontaneity of everything.
There's a lot of madness tomorrow, without a doubt.
Oh yeah.
And you've been working with Leon for a long time. I know I saw Leon play one time a long time ago with Vernon Reid, who will be playing tomorrow night as well. And that was in a band called Mask, I think, and they opened for King Crimson here in Philadelphia. And that, who knows?
Yeah.
Early 2000s maybe, or late 90s?
Yeah, I think late 90s, early 2000s, definitely into the early 2000s. I mean, I think they played as that kind of grouping for a while in between other things that Vernon was doing.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a killer band. Don McKenzie was on drums. Leon, Vernon, my good friend Steve Jenkins on bass. And they did some really.
It was killing. It was killing.
Yeah, it was really amazing stuff.
Yeah. And you also, with Leon, you guys share a space. Is that right?
Yeah. Well, we had a band together for quite a while called Jeans and Machines.
Right.
Which was a really great band. We made one record called Heart Shaped Ass. And I'm very proud of that recording. It was it was a lot of work, but I think it came out really, really well. That's still out and available. But unfortunately, that band fell apart for multiple reasons.
Right. As bands.
But yes. But that was a great band just because of what it was musically, and also it was kind of like performance art at the same time. Because Leon's partner at the time, Ava Farber, really would go out for every gig, and there would be like sort of like a theme for every gig, and we'd have like these bespoke costumes and concepts. So it was, yeah, yeah. Those were fun.
Harkening to Sun Ra in a way.
In a way, not with as much of a unified concept every time. It definitely, it changed from show to show. But that was a really interesting band too, because there were two drummers at all times, and it was either myself and Don McKenzie was playing in it for a while. Our good friend Sinke, who's an amazing drummer, he was also playing for a while, and the concept was that, at least for the drums, and also Sean Banks, who's also a partner in our space, playing percussion. But in terms of the drummers, there was one complete electronic kit and then one acoustic kit, and we would switch who was playing what from. Yeah, it was really fun, and got some amazing textures and sounds happening from that. I mean, the grooves were popping.
Yeah, I'm thinking like tomorrow, as I look at this lineup and I keep staring at who we're playing with tomorrow. Of course, Vernon Reid, besides Living Color, of course, he's worked with Ronald Shannon Jackson and all those remarkable records. And, he
also did an amazing record with him and Bill Frisell.
Him and Bill Frisell, I have that album.
That's a great one.
In the 80s.
Yeah, that was like full on New York downtown scene.
Yeah, and Vernon's played with Jack Bruce, and they had like that Lifetime project that came back where they did all the Tony Williams Lifetime music.
Right.
Vernon is just a super master and one of my favorite people, one of our favorite people. Just an amazing person.
Absolutely.
And then
I remember the first time, to just interject really quickly. I remember the first time I saw Vernon play was on Living Color's first tour when they were opening for Soul Asylum. This is before Vivid, their first album came out. They were playing at the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee Ballroom, and I was 14, and they just absolutely blew my dome off.
Yeah.
It was incredible, and it was actually really funny because they just played this annihilating set, and then Soul Asylum was coming on after, and I think like at least half the crowd just left.
I understand
They were
that.
like, yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No interruption, and this is totally free flow anyway. One of the things I remember about Vernon was I saw him too really early on. I'm not sure when it was. It could have been 88, maybe 87, and they were playing in New York, and this was around the time of the CMJ festival. And it was Vernon with Living Color, their debut, Vivid, right? That's the first record.
Yeah.
And the other band was Fishbone, and that was the double bill.
Oh yeah.
And it was just insane.
Yeah.
Talk about blown away with saxophones being hurled off stage.
Yeah. Well, with Fishbone, you're always going to get an amazing show.
Oh man. So we have Vernon Reid, we have Leon, and we have Josh Werner on bass. And you've played with Josh also for years, right?
Oh, Josh and I, we go back, oh my God, over at least like 22, 23 years now at this point.
Wow.
And yeah, I can't believe it, but we go way back, and we've done, that's my homie. We've done so much work together, and we've got like a really special connection. No matter what group we've been playing with, or what scenario, whether it was, when we were doing production work and playing for, a bunch of hip hop projects, including a bunch of Wu-Tang Clan projects with RZA, or when we were playing with Lee Scratch Perry. He's just a monstrous bass player, one of my favorite bass players in the world to play with.
One of the things I was reading about, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No.
One of the things I wanted to say real quick is one of the things I was reading about Josh is that he's one of his specialties, if you will, or one of his trick bags is dub music. Like he's totally into dub, and you guys have worked together, right, with some of dub's greatest masters. Is that right?
Yeah, well, yeah, especially with Lee Scratch Perry. I mean, he was an idol of both of ours. I mean, both of us grew up being very heavily influenced by reggae and playing reggae music from early on. I mean, reggae music, I think, was the reason why Josh started playing electric bass.
All right.
But yeah, that's a really deep background for both of us. And that influence too has definitely informed us individually and together musically in situations that weren't necessarily like reggae or dub specific. But yeah, I mean, Josh has worked with, so many people, heavy people in the reggae world. He was bass player, musical director, and co-wrote the whole first album of Modest Yahoo.
Wow.
And yeah, and that's Josh got connected with Bill Laswell because when they were getting to record Modest Yahoo's record, his management was asking, well, who do you guys think we want to have produce it? And Josh automatically, being a huge Laswell fan, was like, let's try to get Bill Laswell. And since then, Josh and Bill have, had a long-standing working relationship. I mean, Bill's, I think Josh would say that, Bill's definitely like a mentor of his. And Josh just actually, I mean, we've both worked with Bill a bunch over the years. That was another connection that we both had. I had worked with Bill totally separately. I think the first time was back in maybe 2000, like about 20 years ago. And
what
then
albums were you involved with Bill?
he was producing an Ethiopian singer's album.
Was this Axiom?
Say it again?
Was it Axiom?
No, that was like Bill was just hired as a producer for that. That wasn't on his label.
All right.
I mean, Bill's tastes musically are run far, wide, and deep.
Oh yeah.
And he was married to a famous Ethiopian singer, Gigi.
Yes.
I had gone to school at Berkeley with a couple of great Ethiopian musicians, and who had also moved to New York around the same time that I did, and we hadn't actually played in a while, and then they called me up because they were working on this record, and Bill was going to be producing it, and I, when they told me that, I just, obviously jumped at the chance to be able to, do anything with him. It was my first time getting to work at Bill's studio in New Jersey, which is a really cool room.
What is that room called? Is it Orange, or does it have a name, or it's just in East Orange or West Orange or something?
It's in East Orange, and I'm spacing the name of the studio.
Yeah, I've lost it too. Normally I remember that kind of stuff.
Yeah, me too. I should remember. I lose points for forgetting. But yeah, so that was my connection with Bill, and then there's another project of Josh's and Takuya Nakamura's. Takuya, great trumpet player and piano player, keyboard player. They've got a project called Helio Parallax.
Did you know that?
Say that again?
He just passed, the trumpet player.
What? No. No. That's a different trumpet player.
Who am I thinking?
That's not. I'm spacing his name, but it was definitely not Takuya. You scared me there for a second.
Okay.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. A famous Japanese trumpet player. Whose name escapes me
in a second.
But
I wanted to also just kind of rewind to when we met for the first time, and kind of talk about that, because you have such a remarkable studio background and live touring background, and you've been touring, the world since when? When did you start touring?
Like late 90s. I mean, in terms of really my professional career, I'd gone to Europe a couple of times when I was still in school with some kind of student bands, classmates of mine, great, which was also a really killer band with a sax player named Dave Foisey, who's from the Zurich area in Switzerland, and then great keyboard player, pianist, friend of mine, Manu Kopp, who I still play with to this day, he lives in New York, and with Matt Penman, the great bass player. He's phenomenal. He's had quite a career, and has just become an incredible world-class upright jazz bass player. But yeah, in terms of real, professional touring in the late 90s,
Yeah.
And we
And
met in
you were
2005.
2005. I had been, well, I started out working with Ursula Rucker, the famous, amazing Philly poet, and our sister forever. And
Absolutely.
we began somewhere around 2001, I believe. And there was a band for the first tour, and then it became a duo, which was me and Urs. And we'd go out, and in those days, I would bring an MPC 2000 for drums, you know. So I'd be doing pedals and
Dedication.
loops and drum machine, and pretty much melting down on certain gigs when the MPC would fail or have a technical difficulty during a show, you know. But amazing, amazing times. And I remember somewhere around 2005, you were introduced as a potential drummer that could help me out, help us out, you know. And you came in, and I remember, I'll never forget that day. You came down, and we just started playing, and it was an immediate lock. And that's how I
Yeah.
view our friendship as well. You know, it's just like an immediate brother forever, you know. And
Absolutely.
you know, it's been all the way up to 2020. We're still doing this ever since then. It's 15
Absolutely.
years now. Kind of
Yeah.
celebrating that, you know, with tomorrow's
Absolutely.
gig and everything. You know, it's
Yeah,
like,
exactly. You're right. That's another reason to celebrate our meeting and working together and being friends all these years. Yeah, no, I mean, you know, you and I, we have that special connection, just like in a similar but different way that like Josh and I have, where, you know, there's those special musicians in our lives. You know, you can enjoy and have a good hookup playing with certain people, but there are those, you know, other people that where you just, you know, it's just an innate connection. And,
yeah,
you know, yeah, you and I had that from day one. I remember us like cracking up after getting done with a tune the first time we were playing in your basement studio and rehearsing with Urs. And I just remember it being a ball.
it was so on, and it remained on. And I remember us touring. We did so many European tours. I mean, we went everywhere for a long period of time. And I
Yeah,
just
we went
remember,
to Singapore.
like we were the best band in the world at that time. You, me, and Urs. We were just
Yeah,
going places, and we were way ahead of the curve, you know. And I'm still blown away by what we accomplished during that time, you know. And you
well, a
know,
lot of that, a lot of what was amazing, and I think, you know, it was because you were her only musical accompaniment for a long time live, along with the, you know, with the MPC, with the drum machine. But the first time we had worked together, all the stuff that you were doing sonically, I'd never played with a guitar player that had all that worked out, where like with just the two of us, I mean, we sounded like a band. Like
oh yeah.
nobody was missing anything.
I
I
even
actually remember.
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I even remember, you know, telling people about the gig and having bass player friends of mine say like, "You guys need a bass player. You know, you guys should call me or whatever," and I would be like, "Nah, we're fine. We got it."
Good old octave pedals. They work.
Yeah.
But I mean, you know, that period of time was great, and I think that trio just kept evolving, you know, and all through that period of time, and so many amazing gigs, and also just the you know, the hangs that we had, the travel that we did to all those countries and cities, and the things that we got to share during that time, I think just made it all the more tighter. And you know, moving into maybe, I don't know, 2008 is when we met Kurt in Switzerland. He came out to a show.
Yep.
And
was that the last tour that we did? I think that was the end of that was the last gig of the last full tour that we did with Urs.
it could have been.
I think so. I think we did. I think we did like a couple of spot dates after that, but
Yeah, I remember flying to Portugal for like one gig. We flew all the way
yeah.
over, sitting on a roof, the three of us, and just looking at the sky, jet lagged, of course, badly.
Yeah,
but
as usual.
just the greatest times ever. And so, our kind of thing has continued. I'm sure when this, well, I really hope that when we get through this crazy period of time that we're in now, that this trio can revisit again, Yumi and Urs, and
I
just run stage
I
somewhere.
hope so. I would love to. I would love for that to happen.
Just have a beautiful reunion,
Yeah, I'm praying for it. I'm praying that will be able to happen.
Oh, Urs is here.
Oh,
Hi, Urs. Are you
Urs is
still?
there?
She said 2012 was the last tour. All right, could be. Wow.
Oh, wait, I'm not seeing the text.
Should be scrolling, but maybe it's only on my phone. I'm not sure. Urs says yes, please. She's. Let's do the reunion. Okay, Urs, you're first. This is a
Let's
scoop.
do it.
Yeah. So the greatest times ever. And cutting edge. Everything that Urs was talking about is the same things that are being talked about now, and she was there doing it, and
Well, I
what
mean, yeah, I mean, her.
an honor to be supplying the music,
Yeah, and yeah, exactly. And I mean, Earth's work is so powerful.
Oh,
And I mean, I know it definitely inspired both of
the
us,
best.
to bring everything to the table.
I still
Love you,
remember the
Earth.
Belgrade Festival as well. The Belgrade Festival, Urs, remember that? Urs destroyed the place. I mean, we killed it too, but Urs was just like the headliner of the whole festival and just destroyed everybody. It was so amazing.
Yeah.
And we would
I th-
come off these gigs and we'd be like, the amount of energy and adrenaline. Wow.
yeah, there was no like going to bed right away after those. I definitely needed a
Never
wind down time.
did. There was no sleeping after a gig like that.
Yeah. At least
But
not for a while.
great times. And that led us to Kurt in Switzerland while we were there with Urs. So that was 2008, and eventually, I think around 2014, we had our first gig with Bandit 65, and that was in Philly
Right.
at the Underground Arts, and we did a show there. And not long after that, Kurt called us and said, "Yeah, let's do this for real, and let's book some shows." So he booked a European tour. In 2016, we started touring with Bandit 65. So that became a new trio. And although it was an improvisational,
Yeah. Well, we have Urs to thank for that connection as well.
Thank you, Urs, forever.
Thanks, Urs.
Yeah.
And because of Urs, I met my wife.
You met your wife on an Ursula tour.
Yep,
What year
in
was that?
Freiburg. That was
Freiburg.
2006. That was 2006. Yeah, and then we were married just a little over a year later.
Wow. That's such a great story. Just so many positive things happened, I guess, is what we're trying to say, and just beautiful people that we all worked with and stuff like that, and continue to work with. Those
Absolutely.
friends we made during that time are still here today. Continuing. So that's great.
Yeah, the continuum keeps going.
The Continuum. So tomorrow night's
Yeah.
Continuum, for those who've just joined, the reason why Gintas and I are here is to tell you about this concert we're playing tomorrow in New York. We're live streaming from ShapeshifterLab, and that's Matthew Garrison and Fortuna Sung's venue. And there'll be a live stream starting at 5 p.m. And the band is, besides myself and Gintas, it'll be Vernon Reid on guitars and effect pedals and spaceships, things like this. Leon Gruenbaum on, let me see if I can say it, the Chilean. the Sam
That's right.
Chilean, right? And Josh
Exactly.
Werner's playing bass, and I'm sure he has a bunch of pedals as well. So we'll probably have 3,000 pedals, and
Yeah.
sounds galore.
Actually,
You'll be playing
actually,
percussion, drums, and electronics.
yeah. Actually, funny enough, Josh rarely uses pedals, but he just has such a monstrous sound that he, uh, he definitely gets away with not needing any.
If you want to get tickets to tomorrow night, the show is 5 p.m. You go to ShapeshifterLab.com. The tickets are $12. And if you want to donate $20, MoonJune Records will send you an MP3 recording of the gig once it's done. So that's really cool. I think that's a nice thing. And you know, we're trying to heal this world basically through music. I mean, that's really what the intention of all of this really always has been: educate, heal, and put out good vibes.
But now it's exactly, and now it's because of just what's going on. You know, everything has a new level of gravitas to it, of weight.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and I'm sure you know well, definitely everybody's feeling that and is being affected in terms of their personal energy differently, and in their own individual way. But I mean, I think that's also one of the things that will really feed our performance.
No doubt. I mean, it's for the player and the listener. You know, it's just so badly needed. Music is so badly needed. Great words are so badly needed. Great art is so badly needed. Dance is so badly needed. All of the arts, we just need that because it heals. It heals the soul. It inspires. And we've been through and are still in a dark period of time, you know, that we're trying to get out, hopefully soon, you know. So meanwhile, we got to keep hurtling all this positive energy as artists that we have towards the universe and create these beautiful waves. And that's
Absolutely.
I think, you know, that is the purpose of why we're here. So, you know, tomorrow night is, you know, with that idea in mind. It's so necessary, and I think it's going to be just an amazing night. We can't wait to play. That's the main thing, you know. It's like it's very rare many musicians can play with other musicians right now. There are musicians definitely taking lots of risks to play live right now, and you know, as things seemingly are getting worse, you know, it's not a good idea right now. I think we need to hunker down, but we're going to be safe in this gigantic venue tomorrow with Max on and Matthew and Fortuna are really great, where they take our temperature and check, and everything's by the book, and we're like, you know, 10 feet away from everybody, and we're not hanging in there, and you know, so it's going to.
And there's literally no one else in the place except for us and them.
Yeah, we'll be playing to an empty house, but hopefully there'll be a lot of people tuning in and you know, checking it out. So really excited.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah.
It's gonna be epic. I don't know what exactly it's gonna be, but I know it's gonna be epic.
Totally. So you know, during the last 8 months of this blur, 9 months of this blur that we've been in, what have you been up to? Like, what have you been doing? You know, I know we're in very limited conditions and situations, and everybody's doing or not doing, you know?
Yeah, I mean, just, you know, not to be flippant about it, but trying to figure out how I'm going to be making my living going forward, trying to make the most of this situation, doing a ton of practicing, trying to do a lot of writing and recording as much as possible, because, you know, I mean, the same way that you are as well, as like not only being an instrumentalist, but also a producer and music creator, you know, obviously the live component has been severely kneecapped. to say the least. So, you know,
Yeah.
it's just a shift where I always used to consider myself primarily, you know, as an instrumentalist and player and kind of like producer second. Now, you know, that's definitely shifting of necessity, but I mean, it's great because it's, you know, I don't know whether I would have invested the kind of time into that aspect of my musical life and artistic life had it not been for this situation. So, and I mean, I think it's the same with all the great artists and musicians that we know and artists of whatever medium, you know, everybody's trying to figure it out and make lemonade out of lemons.
Yeah. It really truly is a transformative time, though. I mean, there's lots of people that we know, you know, who, because of this, you know, this stretch of time, have been able to do some great work or get involved in new ways, utilizing new technologies, stuff like that. Even Zoom, even though everybody's burnt out on Zoom, it's I think it's been a helpful thing. It's helped my life working at universities and stuff like that, where I'm able to still work with dancers and choreographers from my studio, and that's a great thing. I know you do that kind of stuff too with teaching.